harsh reality of Valorant hacking.
Oh, nice.
What? No, I'm clicking that.
I disconnected.
I disconnected. Cheated?
No! Oh my god. Wait, what just happened?
Cheater detected.
What?
Wait, what?
So we have silent aim, we have aim assist, and we have aim lock.
So you've probably heard the rumors, or perhaps you've seen the limit of human ability. Some players are just too good, right? Maybe they are just talented, or maybe, just maybe, something else is at play. Is it luck, skill, or is there a hideout script running in the background? Well, who knows? But just before you jump into conclusion, here's what you need to know. It's no secret that Valorant has been reeled up with so many cheating issues for years now. Usually a split-second decision can make the difference between victory and defeat. This is the reason players dedicate hours in building their skills, perfecting their aim, and mastering the maps. But as you would expect from big online games like this, there's always a darker reality. For some, the thrill of fair competition is just not enough. So, in pursuit of easy wins, a higher number of gamers are turning to scripts, aimbots, and wallhacks designed to cheat the system and bend the game to their will. The consequences are felt by everyone. Broken matches, unfair losses, and a community fractured by mistrust. These cheaters undermine the integrity of the game, robbing honest players of their hard-earned progress. But the battle between hackers and developers is a never-ending arms race. Valorant's anti-cheat efforts. In recent years, Valorant's developers have been on high alert, cracking down on cheaters and even taking legal action against those who sell cheats. 10% of the time you play, I can bet you have seen this. Lately though, there's a discovery that cheat sellers are now punishing undetectable cheats through social media. You have probably seen videos like this on TikTok. According to Matt K3O Paletti from Riot Games, these sellers are pulling a fast one by using pre-recorded videos to make their cheats look like they are invisible to Valorant's Vanguard system, tricking players into thinking they won't get caught. Paletti points out that cheat developers frequently create fake live streams where they show off their cheats, using these trickery-filled videos to attract viewers and fool social media users. Sadly, this deceit lures in unwitting buyers who end up getting banned almost immediately after using the cheats. While Valorant continues to grow in popularity, the developers at Riot Games are doubling down on their efforts to ensure a fair and cheat-free gaming environment. Meanwhile, you must have been seeing multiple videos of cheating softwares and devices on TikTok and YouTube. For the record, the majority of those cheating videos are fake pre-recorded videos on banned accounts trying to sell some software to you. In 2020, a blog channel posted a list of Valorant scam cheat providers on the internet. These guys are just random scammers, throwing out a wide net to catch as many people as possible. While some ran away without providing the software after payment, others offered softwares that is easily detected. Now, if you're already thinking, it's bad enough we have to deal with aimbots in-game, but now we have to dodge scammers outside of it too? Unfortunately, the answer is yes. Luckily, these scammers aren't exactly masterminds. Most of them have been running the same tired tricks for years, and yet people still fall victim to their scam. Meanwhile, this doesn't take away the fact that there are legit cheating softwares for Valorant gamers. For the past 4 years, hundreds of Valorant gamers have been banned for using some of the most hideous cheats and scripts, which will be discussed in this video. External cheat. Many Valorant cheaters are known for hiding softwares and installing internal devices to amplify their abilities. However, there are certain external cheats and plugins used by only a few.
Question to all my fellow Valorant cheaters: how do you guys hide your
sprays or land consistent headshots with guns known for heavy recoil? Color Aimbot. The Color Aimbot is a different setting that somehow works with the hardware device, and in fact, it requires the help of Arduino and Host Shield to function. This particular cheat makes use of softwares to get the better of your game. Software like Colorant is a highly effective color aimbot that works by scanning your screen for the purple outlines of enemy players in Valorant and automatically aiming and shooting at them, without touching the game's memory or files at all. Unlike traditional cheats that rely on reading game memory, these softwares use a smarter approach by completely avoiding memory interaction. This makes it harder for anti-cheat systems, which usually look for memory tampering, to detect. However, sending input to the game without raising suspicion can still be tricky. You can customize the software to suit your playstyle. Since Valorant tracks enemy outlines, you should set them to purple for it to work properly. So this is what its settings look like. You can also adjust the field of view by editing a specific value. For many cheaters, the default is optimized for a 50 FOV, but if you are using a different FOV, you might need to tweak the code for it to function smoothly. ESP Wallhack. In Valorant, when you throw a flash and blind someone, you know an enemy is nearby. But then, there are so many questions in your head. Is it just one person? Perhaps the whole squad? And just how much health has he got? Well, back in the days, players sitting across from each other would simply glance at their opponent's screens to see how many faces lit up after a flash. This sneaky tactic gave away exactly how many people were caught by the flash. To fix this, tournaments started using dividers to block the view, or had players sit facing away from each other. Nowadays, the standard is to install lights behind the players to reduce the flash's brightness, and now, cheaters have found a solution to this problem. Cheaters use wall hacks to see opponents through walls, giving them a massive edge in a tactical shooter like Valorant. This advantage isn't just about winning one-on-one fights, it also lets them make smarter strategic decisions for the entire round. The worst part about wall hacks is that they create doubt. Is your enemy really that good, or are they cheating? That uncertainty can ruin the experience, even after the match ends. These softwares allow cheaters to see enemies, weapons, and even the spike through walls, but they are not perfect. What many don't realize is that most wall hacks don't cover the whole map. Usually, they only show about half. They also reveal info like enemy health and ammo, but they struggle with agents like Jett or Reyna when they're using their ultimates, often failing to detect them. Some wall hacks even let cheaters set a maximum distance for what they can see, known as max ESP distance. Triggerbot. A Triggerbot automatically fires as soon as your crosshair lands on an enemy. No manual clicking needed. It often comes with extra features like Triggerbot delay, which adds a slight pause before shooting to mimic human reflexes, so it doesn't look like you have got Hiko-level superhuman reactions. Triggerbots are typically paired with aimbots for a deadly combo, and are especially useful when holding angles with an operator or other sniper rifles. Triggerbot hacks work by tweaking the game's code to automatically fire your weapon whenever an enemy enters your crosshairs. These Valorant cheats often come with extra features like anti-recoil, which handles the gun's recoil for you, and fire delay, ensuring every shot is perfectly timed and accurate. Triggerbots can vary from subtle to outright obvious. Some players use low-key versions that only assist with firing, while others go all in with blatant cheats that make it clear they are using a Triggerbot, like unloading an entire clip with pinpoint precision. For example, let's examine this guy named Solista. He was well rated among the top players in Valorant gaming, but almost every clip on his Twitch channel is of people suspecting him of using a Triggerbot, the cheat that automatically fires when your crosshair lands on an enemy. Half the time he was gaming, he wouldn't even bother clicking the mouse while shooting. Meanwhile, he has been accused of this time and time again. Unfortunately for him, during a live stream tryout, he got busted in real time, and things didn't go so well. It seemed like he was going too fast, but if we play the video at a slower speed, you would see clearly that he didn't click his mouse before the trigger was pulled. But this is just one out of many. AI Aimbot. Before artificial intelligence became popular, video game cheats were much easier to spot and block, but everything changed when cheaters discovered how to use AI to their advantage. Most AI-based cheats work similarly. They can scan the screen for specific visuals, then automatically move the mouse to the target. However, AI cheats are evolving, and some have already infiltrated the gaming world, starting with aimbots. In most games where aimbots are used, the environments exist in a 3D space. In this virtual world, the x-axis represents forward and backward movement, the y-axis left and right, and the z-axis up and down. These three coordinates combine to define a player's position in the 3D world, commonly referred to as a vector. Normally, these values are hidden from the average player, stored safely within the game's code. But when cheats manipulate this information, the true threat becomes clear. Generally, the game's memory is a sacred spot with critical values, like player positions and other functions. To manipulate these values, a hacker must break into this spot, searching for the data while avoiding detection from the anti-cheat systems. Once inside, they can alter the game's view, adjusting it to lock directly onto an enemy's head. Over time, hackers have perfected the art of stealth, covering their tracks, but no matter how skilled they become, their one fatal flaw remains. They must always breach the sacred spot. Sooner or later, they will be caught. Now, this is very similar to AI cheats. Unlike traditional hacks, wallhacks, AI cheats don't need access to those sacred values. Just because you can't see the exact position data doesn't mean you can't see the enemy on your screen. In the past, the vectors were needed for the cheat to lock onto the right spot, but what if that was no longer necessary? What if the intruder never had to invade the spot at all? Recently, hackers have improvised the use of source codes. In 2022, hackers infiltrated Rockstar Games, leaking what seemed to be early footage of the highly anticipated Grand Theft Auto 6. But this wasn't an isolated incident. For the past 2 years, hackers have also managed to breach the defenses of tech giants like Microsoft and Samsung, stealing critical source code and exposing vulnerabilities at the core of these companies. The source code of a game is like a detailed blueprint of every security flaw in the sacred spot. It shows hackers how to evade every guard, and even provides instructions on how to create the most effective cheat possible. One popular example is the open source program YOLO. YOLO is a machine learning algorithm designed to detect objects and images and pinpoint their exact location. It uses a convolutional neural network to quickly process an image and identify things like object category and position. The rapid rise in the power of graphics cards and access to vast amounts of data on the internet have pushed AI development to new heights. These advancements are now being harnessed, giving birth to some of the most sophisticated, undetectable cheats we have ever encountered. What makes YOLO so effective is its speed and accuracy, which is why it's used in many computer vision applications, and unfortunately, in cheating programs too. As YOLO gets more advanced, cheats built on it become faster and better at detecting targets in games, making them harder to catch. Usually, some players will create unique bots that only use the same inputs and outputs that a human player would. This aimbot can be created with 2 computers. On one hand, computer 1 will be running Valorant, nothing else. Computer 2 watches what's happening on computer 1 through a video capture device and sends keyboard and mouse commands through a Logitech dongle. That's it. Those are the only connections between the 2 machines. No memory hacks, no debuggers, no messing with network traffic. It looks pretty clean. Now, to make this bot work, gamers have to teach the AI how to recognize enemies, aim, shoot, and move around in the game. The core of all this is computer vision. You need a machine learning model that could take an image of the game and figure out where things are and what they are. Fortunately, there are plenty of pre-trained models online like Faster RCNN, which seems powerful. Now, teaching a computer to recognize objects and images usually involves giving it tons of labeled examples. Normally, a grad student or cheap labor does this kind of work, so you can get Valorant VODs from Twitch, break them down into individual frames, and draw boxes around objects, labeling them like enemies. Now you just have to show each image to the neural network, comparing its guess to the correct answer which has been labeled. When it's wrong, the network adjusts its neurons a little bit until eventually it gets things right. While traditional cheats mess with game stats or give access to hidden information, making them easier to spot, AI cheats are much sneakier. AI cheats behave more like an insanely skilled player who never misses a shot. In Valorant, guns have recoil, and most cheats manipulate those stats so every bullet hits the same spot. AI cheats, on the other hand, only aim at the target. They don't control the recoil. This makes them look more like a legit player who is just really good, which is why AI cheats are so much harder to detect, even when reviewed manually. Aimbots in Valorant work by automatically detecting specific hitboxes, like the chest, head, or lower body, within a set field of view and locking the aim onto that target. Cheaters can tweak these settings, either using a large FOV with high smoothing to make it subtle, or a smaller FOV for more aggressive flick-style shots with little to no smoothing. These options let cheaters fine-tune their aimbot to avoid detection from both enemies and teammates. Aimbots also often come with anti-recoil systems, which manage weapon recoil for the cheater, or can be used as a standalone cheat to control recoil more easily. Meanwhile, a Flickbot Aimbot in Valorant takes aim assistance to a whole new level. Unlike your standard aimbot that slowly moves your crosshair towards a target, a Flickbot is all about speed and precision, mimicking the natural flick shot movements of a highly skilled player. Here's how it works. The bot instantly snaps the crosshair to an enemy's hitbox, usually the head, whenever they enter a predefined field of view. This snap is lightning fast, creating the illusion of a perfectly timed flick shot, making it hard to detect as a cheat. It's not as blatant as a traditional lock-on aimbot, since it only kicks in for a brief moment, giving the impression that the player just has incredible reflexes. Most Flickbots come with customizable settings, like adjusting the FOV, so you can just decide how far from your controller the bot will trigger, or adding smoothing to make the flick look more human-like. You can also tweak the reaction time so it doesn't look suspiciously fast. This way, even skilled opponents or vigilant teammates might just think you are on fire with your flick shots that day. play. Flickbot is particularly effective with snipers like the Operator, where quick, precise shots are the name of the game. Combine that with some of the cheat's sub-features, like recoil control or Triggerbots, and you have got a deadly setup that can dominate rounds while staying under the radar of anti-cheat systems. It's fast, sneaky, and when configured right, incredibly hard to spot. Valorant cheats and kernel drivers. Back in the days of games like Counter-Strike, real progress against cheaters came from third-party matchmaking services like Faceit and EC. These platforms built their own hardcore root-level anti-cheats and hosted matchmaking for serious gamers in the pro scene. But these solutions were mostly aimed at high-level esports, leaving casual players more vulnerable to cheaters. Then Riot Games decided to release Valorant while having one goal: to create a competitive shooter that wouldn't be plagued by the same cheating issues as Counter-Strike. At this point, Vanguard was announced. It was Riot's answer to cheaters. Like Faceit and EC, Vanguard is a root-level anti-cheat, but it goes even further by loading deep into your system at the kernel level, essentially the backbone of your computer. This gives it serious access and control to detect even the most sophisticated cheats. The reason for this? It all boils down to protection rings in your computer's architecture. Think of these rings as different levels of security, with one being the most privileged. That's where Vanguard lives, directly interfacing with your hardware during boot up, to prevent cheaters from gaining access. It's not just a tool for casual matchmaking. Vanguard was built to ensure competitive integrity at the highest level of play. By operating in the kernel, it has the power to snuff out cheats before they even get a chance to load, leaving you with reactions like this.
What?
Wait, who?
So how do cheaters bypass kernel-level anti-cheats that seem to have eyes everywhere? There are several ways they game the system to gain an unfair advantage. Some methods are as innocent as simple keybinds, while others involve advanced hardware manipulation. Let's break it down. At the most innocent level, you have things like binds for jump throws, a small adjustment to help players execute consistent lineups. Timing these moves manually takes skill, but binding your jump and throw keys together makes it foolproof. While it seems harmless, this tactic was actually banned in Counter-Strike's competitive scene. Another innocent trick is using external software to remap keys, simplifying complex actions like bunny hopping. Mouse macros are another popular tool. Most modern mouse come with software that allows users to create macros, such as binding the mouse wheel to jump for perfect bunny hops without learning the timing.
I personally have my mouse wheel bounded to jump, and you just basically just scroll constantly. It's a really easy way to jump. Or bunny hop, I mean.
While Riot hasn't cracked down on these basic macros, things get a little murkier when the same mouse software can be programmed to run scripts. For instance, a basic anti-recoil script can be set up for certain mouse brands like Razer, which will automatically pull your mouse down to control weapon recoil. It's not game-breaking, but it's a shortcut some players use. Now, when we talk about serious cheating, things escalate quickly. The real game changers are aimbots, triggerbots, and the infamous ESP hack. These cheats rely on accessing the game's memory where crucial data like player health and location is stored. The game client pulls this information from the server, processes it in memory, and displays it on your screen. Cheaters tap into this memory, extracting information to display enemy locations or even auto-aim with perfect precision. A solid anti-cheat system can usually catch cheaters using external or internal cheats by detecting strange system behaviors. External cheats that read game memory using standard system calls, or internal cheats that inject themselves into the game, get caught relatively quickly. But how do cheaters get around anti-cheats that can detect even system-level tampering? The answer lies in extensible firmware interface mapping, popularly known as EFI. By loading cheat drivers before the operating system kernel even boots, these drivers can fly under the radar, pretending to be legitimate Windows drivers. At the core of this method is the mysterious EFI mapper, which tricks both the anti-cheat and Windows into thinking the cheat driver is just part of the system. This sneaky technique allows cheaters to read game memory and run cheats that look like normal system operations. To fight this, anti-cheats like Vanguard have upped the stakes, requiring secure boot and TPM 2.0 on Windows 11. These features enforce a clean boot process, blocking malicious drivers from loading before the kernel. But cheaters aren't completely affected. They simply switch to Windows 10, disable secure boot, or use custom recompiled versions of Windows, giving them full control over their system. Even when cheats get detected and accounts are banned, it's not game over for the cheaters. Players hit with hardware bans in Valorant often turn to spoofers to sneak back into the game. These spoofers work by changing key hardware serials like those for the motherboard, SSD, RAM, and even the monitor, tricking the system into thinking it's a brand new setup. In simple terms, a spoofer is a tool that lets you change your computer's hardware identification, which is like a digital fingerprint used by game developers to track players and prevent cheating. By tweaking your HWID, you can trick the game into thinking you are a completely different player. But recently, Riot has upped their game. By enforcing TPM, a trusted platform module, and secure boot from the BIOS, they have made spoofers a lot less effective. If you turn off TPM and secure boot, the game won't even launch, throwing an error message instead. But if you keep them on, spoofers can't change the hardware serials anymore. Riot has taken other creative measures as well. A couple of years ago, for instance, cheat developers required players to enable CPU virtualization in the BIOS for color aimbots to function. Valorant caught on to this and responded by freezing the cheater's mouse as soon as they entered the game with virtualization enabled. Earlier this year, a high-profile Valorant player, Madeline Malibu Campos, became popular after competing under the team Newt Newt during the 2023 Game Changers qualifiers, facing off against big names like Complexity, G3, and Disguised. Her aim was so precise, it seemed almost too good to be true. Signed to a pro esports team, Malibu had it all: skill, charisma, and even looks, positioning her to become the next Valorant sensation. But things took a wild turn when popular YouTuber and team owner Disguised Toast, whose team played against Newt Newt, publicly accused Malibu of cheating. Shortly after, a Twitter user ran Malibu's profile picture through an image analysis tool, revealing that it was likely AI generated. To add fuel to the fire, reports surfaced that Malibu had been previously banned on an alternate account, Spazzed, and was now evading that ban under her new alias. Today, Malibu was swiftly booted from the tournament, leaving her rise to stardom in ruins. Valorant HVCI. As Riot Games continues to lock down Valorant security with Vanguard, their ever-evolving anti-cheat system, things are getting more intense for cheaters. According to GamerDoc, a senior anti-cheat analyst, the update has introduced mandatory activation of something called HVCI, Hypervisor Protected Code Integrity. I love how cheaters consider bypassing HVCI by enabling it. The copium levels have never reached this level of stupidity. Now, this isn't just some fancy acronym. HVCI is slowly becoming the bouncer at the nightclub for your Windows operating system, stopping shady software from sneaking into the VIP area where all the important stuff happens. If that sounds technical, it's because it is a Windows security feature that stops malicious code from messing with the game's most sensitive systems. For most players, this is all happening behind the scenes, but if you suddenly find yourself blocked from Valorant with a confusing error, you might need to roll up your sleeves and enable it manually. Meanwhile, if you don't enable this feature, you might run into an error known as van restriction, which essentially says, nope, not today, and boots you out before the game even loads. No need to panic though, it's a simple fix. Just hop into your start menu, head to settings, go to device security, find core isolation, and toggle on memory integrity. While it's still up in the air whether this update will completely wipe out cheaters, Riot's anti-cheat warriors are confident that it's already leaving many cheating players scratching their heads. See, Riot isn't messing around. Now, the no access error doesn't happen by accident. It is triggered based on the specific cheat software being used, or if a few too many reports have stacked up against you. If you don't enable this setting through Windows, you can kiss your access to the game goodbye, and if you do enable it, your cheats will never work again. See, HVCI has its eye on your system's core like a digital watchdog, ensuring that nothing shady gets through. So, if you have been booted out, don't bother trying to sneak back in with cheats. It's game over for any shortcuts you had in mind. This update has already caused some serious problems in the cheat community. That's right, they exist, with hackers venting their frustration in forums about how their tricks aren't working anymore. Moreover, Riot Games has hopefully provided a method for those encountering this error. However, the fix is a mini tech lesson. You will need to enable TPM, switch to UEFI, activate Secure Boot, and, because Windows can never just work without a bit of TLC, make sure you have updated the operating system. Riot's message is clear. Play fair or don't play at all. Believe it or not, the recent Valorant update isn't just about turning on HVCI. It is much more complicated than that. Simply enabling this setting isn't your golden ticket into the game. Your computer also has to jump through some pretty specific hoops to even think about launching Valorant. For example, you might find yourself scratching your head after enabling HVCI and still getting the van restriction error. This is the error message I'm getting. I followed and done all the instructions from this. I have BIOS mode, UEFI, TPM 2.0 enabled, Secure Boot enabled, IOMMU enabled, HVCI/VBS enabled, but still getting this error message for some reason. Anyone know a fix? I can't play the game because of this. But why is that? Well, it's because Riot added even more layers of security to shut the door on cheaters. We are talking about outdated operating systems or configurations that hackers love to exploit. If your PC is a little too friendly with these cheat-enabling setups, Vanguard's going to slam the door in your face. That error message? It's basically saying, sorry, not today. To break it down, Riot even released a diagram showing the exact criteria your system needs to meet before it's welcomed into Valorant. The cheat seller's nightmare. Riot Games is no small player in the gaming world. They have the power, the resources, and more importantly, a no-nonsense anti-cheat system that cheaters hate. You might think that your cheats are safe because they worked last weekend, but here's the cold, hard truth. Riot always catches up. It's not a matter of if they will ban you, it's only a matter of when. Now, here is a quick word to those brave souls, or should I say, overconfident, misguided warriors, thinking about dipping their toes into the shady waters of cheating. Don't do it. You might get a quick boost in the short term, but the long-term consequences are brutal. Cheaters in games like Valorant are often addicted to cheats in much the same way someone gets hooked on a dangerous substance. It starts with curiosity or frustration. Maybe they just want a quick way to boost their rank or experience the thrill of domination. But once they get that taste of power, it becomes a cycle that's hard to break. Using cheats gives them that rush of easy wins and boosted stats. But it's not long before the cheat gets detected by the game's anti-cheat system, and boom, they are banned. However, this is just the beginning of a costly and never-ending cycle. At the top of the motivation pyramid for cheaters in Valorant sits the money-hungry elite, those who create and sell cheats or resell hacked accounts for cold, hard cash. These aren't just frustrated players, they are entrepreneurs in a shady underground market. And as the experts point out, they are the hardest group to reform. They don't care about the game, its community, or even the thrill of cheating. For them, Valorant is just a cash cow, and they will milk it dry if given the chance. While Vanguard doesn't make cheating impossible, it throws a massive wrench into the money-making machine of these profit-motivated hackers. But this tactic isn't without risk. Early on, Vanguard blocked players with outdated hardware drivers that could potentially be exploited for cheats. This, however, led to frustration from regular players, whose RGB keyboards suddenly stopped working. Imagine paying for extra glowing keys, only to find out they won't light up when you're fragging in Valorant. Even after getting blocked and restricted, these cheat sellers dangle quick-fix solutions in front of these players, promising undetectable cheats and tools like spoofers that can temporarily unban them. The player gets banned again, and what do? They buy another cheat, maybe an upgraded spoofer this time. It's like a loop of shady microtransactions. Every ban leads to another purchase. The irony here is that players will spend just to keep getting banned over and over again. Cheat sellers know exactly what they are doing, exploiting players' addiction to cheating while cashing in on their desperation. Sure, you might feel untouchable running around with those cheats, but Vanguard's got your number, and Riot's ban hammer swings hard. And when it hits, it really hits. Permanent account bans, public humiliation in gaming communities, and worst of all, you'll have to explain to your friends why you are taking a break from Valorant indefinitely. So, before you even think about downloading that suspicious software, remember, Riot's playing the long game, and cheaters never win. Well, maybe for a few matches, but trust me, it's not worth the fall.